Okay, Forrest, so I've read your essay and I'm going to give you some feedback on it. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, you can stop and rewind and listen again. All the yellow things are comments that we're going to work on together. So first of all, if you have a question, you need question format. Why are men more aggressive than women? And throughout your paper, you have mistakes like this that are pretty unacceptable for this level. Basically, you should know in advanced high that you need to start an essay with a capital letter. These are small things that actually make a big difference to how people read your work and what they think about what you say. So throughout your essay, you're going to need to fix those kinds of problems. Another thing you're going to need to work on is word choice because you have many places where you're using adjectives where you should be using nouns and you're using verbs when you should use nouns or adjectives, etc. So for example, men have more responsibility, have with a noun, men are more responsible with an adjective. You need to make these decisions. Also, why do men have more responsibility than women? Do you have research or what's your thought behind that? I didn't understand that. Didn't understand that comparison. And then you say people have that idea that depends on the biological side to describe this opinion. You have a lot of words here, but you don't really have a lot of meaning. And then you say, however, men are more aggressive. So I'm already confused at the beginning. I think you need to rework on this. Men have potential. Potential is not an adjective, so you cannot use it with really. And here you need to say men are affected by. This is passive voice. Here expect you have a verb. You need the noun form because of noun. And here where you have so, you do not want to begin a sentence with so. You want to use so after a comma. So replace period with comma. I don't understand what this means. Catching, I think that's why people are so crazy for catching the girl's view or something. Definitely not academic, definitely not clear. Again, throughout the paper you have capitalization errors. This definitely should not be a semicolon. Maybe it should be a colon. I'm not sure. This is date. You're looking for the word data. And space sport. I don't know what you mean by a space sport. So, throughout your paper, I would also like to say that one trouble that you have is that you don't have the vocabulary you need at this level to talk about the types of topics we're discussing. You absolutely need to improve your academic vocabulary. This writing is very basic, and I think that's been something I've told you throughout the quarter, yet I do not see you imitating or trying to have the same kind of vocabulary of things that we read, and that's a problem. Also, I told you guys in class about author tags that this is not acceptable, so you need to fix that. Also, you need to know that the author's name should be capitalized, although if you mention her here, you don't need to introduce her again here. Okay? We have pay attention to, and this idea, you have more and more men and men, so you don't need to say it again. You've already said men right here. More and more men pay attention to the sport and feel glory. Okay? However, I don't know about this idea. Men feel glory when they get a bruise in a sport. Again, what evidence do you have to support that idea? Not sure. Also, you have this idea that men have a high accident rate. Well, you need to actually tell me what that statistic is. This is not sufficient evidence or support. Here you need the word additionally. And here you've said some theory. Well, again, tell me, what is the theory? This should be teach people that only the fit survive as a verb. Yeah, very general. You gotta make sure that you're being clear and specific so people will be convinced by your data. If your data is really vague and general, it doesn't actually do anything for your argument at all. Turn this into a proper author tag. Make sure you know what you're doing. You cannot graduate this level without knowing how to do that. Again, small things like capitalizing the name of the country you live in. These are little oversights that make a big difference to how people read your essay. Okay, man has a lot of responsibility. Noun, not adjective. And here, same thing. Men have responsible. You're repeating it again and again. Within that repetition, I don't really understand the difference between your argument in this paragraph and your argument in this paragraph. Basically, I feel like both paragraphs are the idea that social environment affects them, because society and social environment are kind of the same thing. So really, I feel like you only have two ideas. You have this idea about men are aggressive because they play sports, and then they're aggressive because of society. So just those two. Yeah, I don't think that these two paragraphs really have any difference. So I don't understand this. Men cannot do well like men. What? Not clear. And the language, what do you mean? And this idea, so some women can replace the role of men rarely? I don't get it. You need to work on this. The author, capital name, capital letters for his name. Not was written. The author wrote the article, capital letters, no period. So he wrote the article, and then you say in this article the author spends. So you didn't actually complete this idea. You didn't complete the sentence. You just said the author wrote the article, and then in this article. Well, you actually need to connect this sentence to this. So I would say the author wrote the article, blah, 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 and after he spent his whole life to research gender differences. Okay, I would delete this whole part. And I am not sure how this quote is relevant to what you're talking about here. This quote is about boys and guns and girls and dolls. You're saying boys are taught to be aggressive, but here you're talking about earning money, and then you're talking about children. What's the connection between those two? For your counter argument, you're not going to just state the other side. You would say something like, on the counter side, some people believe that men are not more aggressive than women. Okay? You need to explain their ideas a little bit further before you give your rebuttal, which is the biology does not agree with this. Okay? So here is your research, but you actually you're not specific enough for me to believe you. The author uses animals, so what do animals have to do with men? You need to really explain this, okay? So, I guess in your conclusion, you talk a lot about just kind of restating the idea that men are more aggressive because they have different biology, but you don't mention that till your counter argument. If that's one of your reasons, that should be one of your main body paragraphs, not just the rebuttal of your counter argument. And this idea that men have some aggressive behaviors, are you just talking about sports? Because that's the only behavior you mentioned. And then the social environment, you should be specific. What about the social environment makes men be aggressive? So overall, you have a lot of work to do on this essay, and I must say that this is not passing work, both in content and in language. So you're really going to have to work hard to improve this essay so that it is at the same level, the same standard of the other students in passing work. Okay? Make sure you get help and really listen and understand what's going on. Okay? If you need help, just ask.